Most of you know some of the struggles I've been going through the past 7 months. I wanted to share my journey, my testimony, and share how God has used this situation to teach me about fear, hope, and most importantly, love. In May of 2016, we took our boys on a camping trip. I had been really sick, but we had been planning this adventure for quite a while, and I wanted to experience it with them. I realized after hiking through the canyons that my legs were incredibly weak. I struggled the whole time, and things just got worse after returning home. During the following week, I began to lose more and more feeling in my legs. I was having a hard time just walking up and down the halls. I had to hold on to the walls to walk. One day, whenever I was doing laundry, I failed trying to carry the laundry into the living room. And as I was laying there, my stubbornness, I guess, kind of faded. And I decided that I really needed to find out what was wrong. After several visits to the ER and a few different doctors, multiple tests, blood work, MRIs, I ended up at a neurologist's office, and he said within about probably 10 minutes of looking me over, "I think you have something called Guillain-Barré." And he said, "I'm going to call the hospital, and you're going to be there a minimum of 5 days. He said, go ahead and go eat some lunch, but then you need to get your stuff and head to the hospital." I had no idea what Guillain-Barré syndrome was. All I heard the doctor say was 5 days. I naively thought that I'd be better after 5 days, and I was annoyed that this whole thing was interfering with Father's Day, my dad's birthday, Oliver's birthday. After the second day of staying in the hospital, I started to realize that this was much bigger than I thought. I started experiencing intense nerve pain. My feet became so sensitive I couldn't wear socks or have sheets touch them. That's when fear took over. Will I ever walk? What will life be like if I can't walk? What about school? I was so close to graduating. What does this mean for my boys? Will I be able to play basketball and soccer with them? It took a lot of praying and a lot of encouragement from family and friends and from the church to finally come out of that fear stage and to just dig down deep in my gut, I guess, and find the courage to just say, you know what? This isn't it. I'm going to walk. I don't care how long it takes me. I'm going to figure this out and get back to normal life. I had a lot of free time whenever I was in the hospital, and friends and family brought me different things to do. I spent a ton of time coloring pictures because I had a lot of weakness in my hands, and I was determined that I was going to fix that as quick as I could because I could not stand that I couldn't hold my spoon without it shaking. And so I spent a lot of time just kind of reflecting and working on my little drawings, and I started hanging them up on the wall, having other people hang them up for me because I couldn't stand. But the doctor came in one day and he said, "Man, everybody on the floor is talking about this room and how uplifting it is to come in here and see you and how they love your drawings on the wall." And it made me see just a little bit of good in what was happening. And at that point I thought, you know what? This is not fun. This is not how I wanted to spend my summer, but something good is going to come out of this. And I can share my story, and I can give other people hope. And that word stuck out to me so big during the last few days in the hospital was hope. And I just kind of felt like God was telling me, Ashley, there are people that don't have any hope, that don't know me. You do. You have hope. And no matter how this turns out, it's going to be okay. On June 22nd, Oliver's 6th birthday, I was released from the hospital. We made a pit stop at Chick-fil-A and met our family there to celebrate Ollie's birthday. I came home determined to beat the odds. The physical therapist at the hospital told me before I left that this would be a long journey and not to expect to be back to normal for a year at the least. I had some pretty dark times during those first few weeks. I had pain from the waist down that was worse than any pain I'd ever felt. I went back and forth to the ER 6 times before I started therapy. My family, my friends, and so many people in this church helped us through those times. Meals, gifts, taking our boys to get out of the house and do fun things. The love that I felt during that time was so overwhelming. I was in constant pain, so I know I was hard to be around, and I felt pretty unlovable. But people just continued to love on our family. Finally, it was time to start physical therapy. It was a growing experience for me, physically, mentally, and emotionally. It was painful, but I loved it because I was seeing improvements. I had to dig pretty deep, and I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about the people around me, my loved ones, and this church. I received daily check-ins through text, phone calls, emails. I have never been more proud to say that I'm a part of this church. God used each of you to encourage me and love me. You were my cheerleaders. Every tiny victory became a big deal in our house, and my boys cheered for me like they had just won the Super Bowl when I was able to do things that I hadn't done before, like hold them because my legs didn't hurt so bad, put on shoes for the first time. Even things like going to pick up pizza and driving on my own. And yes, finally, being able to play basketball with them in the front yard. Even the dreaded trip to Walmart became a victory when I was able to do it on my own. Everyone experiences times of pain, struggle, fear, but we belong to a God who can handle anything. Through this experience, I've learned that God is not asking the church to fix people. He's not wanting us to judge people for what we see or who we think they are. Everyone has a story to tell, and as God's people, we are just told to love them, to show them how powerful God's love is. I've met several people with the same syndrome that I had, and they did not have the support system that I do. They don't have hope. They feel very unloved, and they are still in their wheelchairs or using their walkers years after their diagnosis. Now, I still have a long journey ahead of me, but I believe, along with all of my prayer warriors, that I will be completely healed. The message is simple. Let God's love pour out of you. You never know how much it might mean to someone. I love you all, and thank you for supporting me and loving me.